voted for the Wall Street bailout. I helped lead the fight against it on Capitol Hill.
Today on Politics Now, Republican vice presidential nominee Mike Pence attacks Hillary Clinton during a rally in Henderson. The highlights from his speech.
It's devoid of that government interference. It's a level playing field.
And Libertarian presidential hopeful Gary Johnson also pays a visit to Southern Nevada, why he claims he has momentum.
We don't legislate anymore to protect public lands. The Republicans won't let us.
And Harry Reid and Dina Titus push for another national monument in Nevada.
From 8 News Now, this is Politics Now with Steve Sebelius and Patrick Walker.
Republican vice presidential nominee Mike Pence made his first trip to Southern Nevada this week. Thanks for joining us. I'm Steve Sebelius. Patrick is on vacation this week. Pence didn't break any new ground during his speech at the Henderson Convention Center on Wednesday, and he started off by going to one of Donald Trump's mainstays, criticizing the media.
Just about every day, the national media latches onto some issue about my running mate. You ever notice that? I mean, they're so busy parsing every word that Donald Trump said in the last 30 minutes, they don't apparently have time to talk about what the Clintons have been doing for the last 30 years.
Pence stayed on the attack most of his speech. The Indiana governor told the crowd that Donald Trump would cut taxes and end cronyism in politics.
They were largely ignoring the news that, believe it or not, new emails had come to light that seemed to provide direct evidence that favors were done by State Department officials under Secretary of State Hillary Clinton for large foreign donors to the Clinton Foundation. And then we learned another day later that several months ago the FBI discussed opening a public corruption investigation into the Clinton Foundation, and Barack Obama's Justice Department apparently shut it down.
A handful of pro-choice activists protested outside the rally at the Henderson Convention Center. Inside the rally, Pence successfully dodged answering questions from the crowd that included why no one was discussing Sharia law in America and everyone's favorite outlaw cowboy.
My concern
Yes, sir.
is for the two ranching families, the Bundys and the Hammonds. Their constitutional rights have been trampled by the Bureau of Land Management, and I hope and pray that when you get into office, you'll look into that.
Now, Pence didn't address the Bundy case specifically. Instead, he said generally that Donald Trump will stand up for the Constitution. Now, the Libertarian presidential ticket was in Las Vegas this week as well, holding a rally at the SLS. Gary Johnson and his running mate, former Massachusetts Governor Bill Weld, told the crowd they are the fiscally responsible and socially tolerant option. Johnson also criticized Trump for wanting to build a wall along the Mexican border. He says things are looking up for the Libertarian Party based on his social media presence, which reaches 27 million people.
What is very significant is over the last 3 weeks, that's a doubling of that number. And if you go back 3 weeks earlier than that, that's a double of that number 3 weeks before that. So it really does look good.
Well, speaking of numbers, a new poll from Suffolk University shows the presidential race in Nevada is a dead heat. It has Hillary Clinton at 44% and Donald Trump at 42%. The 2 points separating them are well within the margin of error for the poll. A quarter of those surveyed said they felt excited about the election. More than half said they were alarmed. Gary Johnson came in at 5%. Now, the Democrats held a campaign event on the 4th anniversary of the DACA and DAPA executive orders from President Obama. Included in their event were calls for passing comprehensive immigration reform. I caught up with Senate candidate Catherine Cortez Masto and congressional candidate Ruben Kihuen to ask why they think they can accomplish what other members of Congress have been unable to do thus far. Is there something that an approach that you would use that maybe hasn't been used so far?
Yes. Just what I've done as Attorney General. Listen, it's about building relationships. I built relationships with not just Democratic colleagues, but Republican colleagues, because that's how you work together to get things done. It's true when I say I'm a bipartisan problem solver, that's what's needed, and it is building relationships. There's no doubt in my mind. I think there are Republicans in Congress that I can work with and talk with and build relationships and get them to support passing comprehensive immigration reform. But it starts with having those conversations. It doesn't start with no. And it doesn't start with not even reaching across the aisle. And if we're talking about comprehensive immigration reform, let's put a face on it. Let's put names on it. Let's put families on it. Because there's real people that are contributing to our economy, that are a productive part of our communities, that you've seen the studies, they contribute to our GDP. So there's positives all around. But let's talk real world. And to me, you got to start somewhere.
Is there any hope of any kind of reform or change?
Look, I have hope. Given that Donald Trump is on the ballot in November, I wouldn't rule out actually taking Congress back. I wouldn't rule out that people like Crescent Hardy who support him are going to get swept out of office, because the American people, Nevadans, are sick and tired of this partisan politics. They're tired of having a Congress that is the least productive Congress in American history. Crescent Hardy has been part of that problem. And so we need to elect new blood, people who are willing to come in, work hard, sacrifice, and be able to compromise with the other side to be able to come up with solutions. Right now, Crescent Hardy's not a solution person. He supports Donald Trump. Donald Trump wants to take us back to the 60s.
If it gets to be like day 95 and the bill isn't there, what will you do? What would you do if you were elected to Congress? Now you're an elected congressman. What would you do? Would you call her up? Would you say, hey, you promised? Let's do this.
My main responsibility, God willing, I get elected into this congressional seat, is going to be to the people of the 4th Congressional District. They're going to expect that their leader speak out on behalf of the district, and I will, if necessary, push the administration to make sure, regardless if it's Republican or Democrat, to make sure that we give the comprehensive immigration reform the attention that it deserves, the vote that it deserves, because at the end of the day, this is good for all America.
Republicans in the House refused to take up a bipartisan Senate bill passed in 2013. In fact, they didn't even entertain bills proposed by members of their own party. That's what led President Obama to sign DACA in the first place in 2014. Hillary Clinton may have promised to introduce a bill in her first 100 days or use executive power even more than Obama, but she's still got to deal with Congress and the courts, which struck down an expansion of the program this year. Trying to protect Gold Butte.
Senator Reid and I have both appealed to the president to use his authority to set this aside and protect it.
Dina Titus tells us about her plans to get another national monument in Nevada. Next on Politics Now. Stay with us.
This fall, Michael Weatherly is
Dr. Bull?
Dr. Bull.
Mr. Wall?
Dr. Bull.
Bull.
We have a defendant with a boy band haircut and pimp sneakers.
They're not going to convict me because of my haircut.
You see that? He smirked. He's a smirker.
Guilty or innocent?
Didn't see that coming.
The verdict you get
That's nuts.
How do I get invited to a high school party? Kidding.
depends on the jury he picks.
You're supposed to be on my side. I may be the only one who is.
Bull, premiering CBS Tuesdays this fall.
$19 an hour. That's what the average Uber driver makes to pay the bills. But after taking $70,000 from taxi companies, Catherine Cortez Masto drove Uber out of Nevada. $19 an hour. It's not much for Cortez Masto. She lived large on more than $60,000 of trips and gifts from other special interests. In Washington, would she work for us or them? Freedom Partners Action Fund is responsible for the content of this advertising.
There's a company focused on renewable energy for Nevada. A company utilizing over 40 solar, wind, geothermal, and other projects across the state, providing enough clean energy to serve 750,000 Nevada homes at one time, adding jobs, and giving out nearly $24 million in incentives in the last year and a half. So which renewable energy company is doing all this for Nevada? Well, you might be surprised.
I didn't do anything wrong. Sometimes I feel like I'm watching this whole thing happen to somebody else. I'm not gonna testify.
I'm Dr. Jason Bull. I'll be right there with you. You can do this.
They're not gonna believe me.
Don't give up on people. They're all we've got.
Welcome back to Politics Now.
Well, talking President Obama into making Gold Butte a national monument before he leaves office in January is at the top of Senator Harry Reid's priority list. Reid and his fellow Democrat, Congresswoman Dina Titus, and conservation groups released a report for the second year in a row revealing the damage that's being done to the area. I asked Congresswoman Titus about that and about renewed efforts by developer Jim Rhodes to build more than 5,000 houses atop Blue Diamond Hill. Gold Butte, obviously there's a lot of damage going on out there now. The trails that are being created that shouldn't be there, and all of that. Some of that stuff would probably still go on, though, even with a designation, wouldn't it?
Well, you not only have to designate it, you have to put some resources behind it so you can put some fences, have some surveillance, be able to really protect it.
This land has been controversial, not just because of the damage that was done to it, but because of the presence of, for example, trespass cattle from Clive and Bundy's ranch. It has since taken on almost iconic status as a representation of the battles over the federal government versus local control of public land. Does that make it harder to get a designation?
I think it does, but we have these kinds of events, and we had a town hall meeting that went for 3 hours about a year ago that I hosted to say to the president, there's a lot of support for this. Don't let just a handful of bad apples keep you from doing something. And a recent survey showed 71% of people think we should protect it, and that crosses all party lines.
You wouldn't be able to graze cattle on this land if there was a designation, would you?
No, you would not. It would be protected from that. But those cattle are out there illegal now, even without this designation.
You were very active in the preservation or the attempt to preserve Blue Diamond Hill. Development has been proposed there for many years, but has not actually happened. Now it looks like there's another proposal before the county commission. Do you think that there's any chance that will happen, and is there anything that can be done to stop that from happening?
Well, I hope it doesn't happen. I've been down this road with the roads many times, and I would like to see it protected. The county may be inclined to approve it. I don't think it would ever pencil out, but what I'd like to do, work with Mr. Rhodes, work with the county, work with the BLM, see if we can't find some land to swap so we can protect that area, and maybe he can develop someplace else in the valley.
The last negotiations over land swaps ended in 2014 when the BLM said, well, a lot of this land has been scarred by gypsum mining. It's not really something that we think is worth trading for land elsewhere. Would you have to persuade them to come off that position before this could go forward?
Well, that's why I think we need to negotiate it. I think it can be resurrected. I believe that that's a possibility. But also at that time, Mr. Rhodes wasn't a willing seller, and that was part of the problem. So we'll take some negotiation, but I think it's worth it. You need to save that area. It's not just the hill itself, it's the impact it has on Blue Diamond, on the Red Rocks, the increased traffic, the light pollution would be a terrible thing, the water usage. So we need to do all we can to see if we can't move him somewhere else.
But at this point, the moving forward has to be done under a willing buyer and seller. Mr. Rhodes has to be willing to trade this land for land that he might find easier, more lucrative to develop elsewhere.
That's right. I think that's why he wants to get the county approval, because that raises the value of that property and that gives him more to negotiate with.
So you don't think this is a real proposal? He doesn't really want to develop those 5,000 homes up there?
Well, he may, but I don't think you can really make it pencil out. If you look at how you get the water up there, how you build the infrastructure, that's a difficult place to build houses. You shouldn't be building them there to start with. So if the county approves some elaborate plan, then the value of it goes up, whether it ever happens or not.
Also, during that Gold Butte press conference, Harry Reid says he's tried legislation, but accused Republicans of hating public lands and blocking efforts to preserve them. So instead, he's asking the president to protect Gold Butte using his powers under the Antiquities Act. Well, are you worried about Faraday spying? Congressman Crescent Hardy takes heat over suggesting the military had concerns about spying from the Chinese-owned electric car manufacturer that's building a plant in North Las Vegas. The piece of paper his camp says backs up his claims. And our face-off panel picks on Harry Reid coming out against the recreational marijuana initiative. That's next as Politics Now continues.
I survived because of the transplant center.
I survived because of the burn care center.
I survived because of the trauma center.
UMC. Together, we shine.
How do you shed some light on a better economy? Start with the opportunities provided by Valley Electric Association. We're the power company that puts Nevada first, and we're doing big things, like providing economic growth by securing renewable energy projects. That translates to more jobs, new prospects, and stronger economic potential all across the state. In other words, together, we're doing powerful things. Visit us at vea.coop to learn more.
Why are car buyers coming from all across the Southwest to buy their new vehicle from Tobin Dodge? Because Tobin Dodge is the #1 Dodge dealer in the nation.
Hey, shop at Tobin Dodge Superstore, and the summer clearance is going on now.
New Ram Bighorn Crew Cabs, $14,000 off. Ram Heavy Duty, $22,889. People all over the U.S. are coming to save thousands on their next new car. Ram Crew Cabs, $14,000 off. Heavy Duty, $22,889.
That's Tobin Dodge in the Valley Auto Mall, #1 for a reason.
Monday on Good Day. Websites offer free shipping and discounts to attract customers.
But sometimes those offers come with a hidden cost.
So what you thought was a $25 purchase actually becomes $50 a month. There are companies that are sneaky about signing you up for the subscription, and then companies that make it exceedingly difficult to cancel.
How companies get you to pay monthly without you realizing what you agreed to.
Plus, kids will be heading back to the classroom in just a few more days.
Tips on how to get your child back on a good sleep schedule. Monday on Good Day.
It's time for the Race Now, where we review some of the other big political stories of the week. You can expect to see some pro-recreational marijuana billboards going up around the valley soon. Supporters of the November ballot initiative plan on putting up billboards with the message, quote, support schools, not cartels, unquote. They maintain Question 2 will generate $20 million a year for Nevada schools. They've also purchased $800,000 worth of airtime to run television commercials through Election Day. And Republican Senator Dean Heller was in town speaking to the Las Vegas Metro Chamber of Commerce. He touted his seat on the Banking, Commerce, and Finance committees. 80% of bills go through one of those panels, Heller said.
I am the only senator back in Washington, D.C. that sit on these 3 committees. And I even have leadership trying to figure out how I got on these 3 committees.
And Republican Congressman Crescent Hardy found himself contradicted by Governor Sandoval after a statement Hardy made about the company Faraday Future. The electric car manufacturing facility is being built by a Chinese company, and Hardy said that the Air Force had questions about whether there could be spying going on. Sandoval quickly said that no one from the military ever raised any questions with him, but Hardy's camp produced an email from Manella's commander in December of 2015 wondering whether it was linked to the Chinese government. It also raised the prospect of unauthorized monitoring of Department of Defense communications at the base, which isn't far from Faraday's development site at Apex in North Las Vegas. Nevada economic development officials say the Department of Defense reviewed the project and cleared it. Now it's time for Face Off, where we debate from the left and the right. Our guests are KXNT radio host Alan Stock and Battleborn Progress Executive Director Annette Magnus. This week, they debate Harry Reid's position on Question 2, the recreational marijuana ballot initiative. Harry Reid has come out, we'll call it skeptical about the legalization of recreational.
No, he said he wouldn't vote. He'd vote no.
Marijuana. He's going to vote no. He's for medical marijuana. He's sold on that, but not recreational marijuana. Is he wrong?
I mean, I don't agree with Senator Reid on everything, and that's okay. I don't agree with all of our leaders on everything. I don't think that is the correct stance. I think we need to move towards legalization, and we talked about this last week. I'll agree again this week. I believe this is the right thing for our state to do. Too many people are ending up in jail. Too many people are being, victims for no reason with this. We need to make this legal. We need to regulate it, and we need to tax it. And so I believe that the marijuana initiative, Question 2 on the ballot, will pass.
Alan, what do you think? Do you agree on an issue with Harry Reid?
See, I was going to say, I rarely agree with him on an issue, and this one I happen to agree with him on. And I'm concerned about it for the same reason he is, and I feel almost the same way he does. I support medical marijuana, and my biggest problem with medical marijuana is dispensaries. Because I think that if it's a medicine and treated as medicine, you should have been able to get it at Walgreens and CVS and all the other pharmacies. The problem with that is the federal government. And just last week, the federal government once again came out and refused to reclassify marijuana. And they say they want more tests to be done. You can't have more tests being done under the classification that it currently exists. So it's a conundrum. And I would have thought of all presidents, and Mr. Barack Obama, who's puffed enough in his life to, probably choke a horse. I'm surprised he hasn't reclassified this to at least allow more investigation into it and to allow states to use it under medical purposes without the threat of losing their licenses.
Let me follow up with a delicate question. Is this a generational thing?
Absolutely.
Alan, you and I are a little bit older. Annette is very young. She represents the next generation over here. The young people say legalize it. Old guys like us, maybe, and Senator Reid, I would include him in that group, are maybe a little bit more skeptical.
Well, okay, Harry Reid is definitely older than I am, for sure. I'm older than Annette, but I grew up in the 60s. So for me to say that I didn't participate, that would be stupid. This is absolutely true. I did. And I don't brag about it. I mean, we tried that back in the 60s and 70s. And I haven't had it in many years. I understand today it's much stronger than it was back then. And my concern, again, is the aspect of kids using it like they're doing in Colorado now. Kids getting addicted to it at 4th grade level because parents are leaving it around at nighttime and the kids are picking it up the next day and they're figuring, if it's legal for parents, it must be okay. It must be just an age thing. We used to think that about booze when I was a kid. It's probably okay to have booze, but the reason is you can't have it. It's a restricted age thing, but obviously booze is okay. Otherwise our parents wouldn't be drinking it. And so I think kids are thinking that about pot in Colorado and elsewhere.
4th graders?
No. I think, look, people are already doing this. If we think that this is not prevalent in our communities right now with all different generations. Look, my parents are very supportive of this issue. They're in their 50s. They lived through that same era. They think this is really cool. But at the same time,
it's really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. It is cool. I think it's time to do this for so many reasons. It's not that big of a deal. Honestly, if you really look at it, alcohol is actually far more dangerous, and police actually have said on record that alcoholics are far more dangerous in the context of domestic violence, drinking and driving, all of these different things. They're more volatile than somebody who is high. And so for me, when I look at the pitfalls of this, it's already happening. Let's go ahead and legalize it so we don't have black and brown folks, frankly, going to jail for it.
Well, you can watch our panel debate Trump's proposal for an ideology test for would-be immigrants, making Gold Butte a national monument, and if Clinton or Trump will win Nevada. Look for that under the Your Local Election Headquarters tab on our website at lasvegasnow.com. So, who's responsible for most of those negative ads burning up your TV screens? I'll tell you next in Following the Money. Stay with us.
What's with the carrot sticks, guy? I gotta get in shape for my new show. We're on Monday nights after Big Bang. Good for you. I'm on in reruns, so I can blow up like a tick. Don't matter. You know what? We're not until September, so...
The world is getting more dangerous. Your home may not be as safe as you think. Trust Rolod & Rolling Shutters to protect your home, your business, and especially your family. Your windows alone can't stop burglars. You need the protection only Rolod & Rolling Shutters can provide. With durable construction and insulation, you'll be safe and secure while saving up to 60% off your energy bills. Learn how to get a free motor with purchase. Rolod now offers retractable awnings and exterior zip solar drops. Call 702-878-1072 for your peace of mind.
My job is to make sure your water meets the highest federal standards. But my job at home is to make sure my family gets plenty of clean, healthy water. I hold water to a higher standard.
The superhero standard.
Although Southern Nevada's tap water is thoroughly treated and tested, we know you may have questions about water quality. For objective information, go to snwa.com.
We're number one in the nation.
Tobin Fiat Alfa Romeo is classically trained to save you more. That's why we're number one in the nation. The all-new 2017 Fiat 124 Spider is here. Now only $24,999. Even lease the 500X for just $169 a month, or take $8,000 off new 500s.
Tobin Fiat Alfa Romeo, number one in the nation.
And he's not just talking the talk here, he's asking his supporters to walk the walk.
His website now has an application that you can fill out to be a Trump Election Day observer.
Now, well, you know, in a way, we are all Trump Election Day observers. Because if you look out of your window in November and see 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, you'll know, oh, they just called Florida.
And now we follow the money. You've undoubtedly seen attack ads filling up your screen, but who's responsible for most of them? MapLight studied political ads in 23 TV markets, including Las Vegas. They found dark money is behind more attack ads than any other type of political organization so far this election. In fact, 70% of ads paid for by politically active nonprofits were attack ads. By comparison, only 20% of ads paid for by political groups were critical in their tone. The dark money groups have even eclipsed PACs as the most likely to use negative advertising. Of course, the 2010 Citizens United decision allowed corporations and unions to spend unlimited amounts of money as long as it was independent of candidates and campaigns. Well, this is What to Watch, where we tell you what's coming up in the world of politics next week. And one issue keeps coming up. With the start of school just about a week away, we're still eagerly awaiting a Supreme Court decision on the Education Savings Accounts program. 8,000 parents have already signed up and are in a state of limbo because a judge suspended the program until courts determine whether it's constitutional. Many of them will be left unsure what to do if a decision does not come down before the start of school. Democratic Vice Presidential candidate Tim Kaine is holding a rally here on Monday. At where else? A union hall. He's speaking to the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Union at 9 in the morning. We'll bring you that story next week. Thanks for watching Politics Now. We'll see you next week right here on your local election headquarters.
Let's go to school.
For being one with the water, sand, and the land. For those that let the open air guide them. For inspired style, matched only by what it stands for. So head into your local Jeep dealer and take advantage of summer savings while summer's still here. Jeep Cherokee. It's how we live 4x for summer.
Lessees of competitive vehicles get a low mileage lease on the 2016 Jeep Cherokee for $199 a month.
The Race Now on Politics Now is